Good morning. So for this video I wanted to do something a little bit different. I was going to jump in and look at some of the config files and see if we can make some adjustments, because I know I've griped every time I've played about the way the strips are or the way the colors are on the ADIRS. So I wanted to take a look at making some modifications to that. Now, as I said in the other video, you can copy these files over. So I'm in LAX because that's the airport I play the most right now because I'm familiar with it. So it gives me the best options to test and to play the game before I branch out to other airports I don't know. So in here, there's two main ones that I want to look at right now, strip and ADIRS. So I have the strip one here. Now what I don't like about this is that there's really not a lot of information here about what you're looking at. So I understand the bin and it takes up 15%. I understand the tower, arrival, ground departure, 6 left, all those different groups. I get all that information. It's just kind of, it doesn't give us a lot of representation, and I don't see anything about text size or anything like that on here. So 40 plus 40 is 80, plus 20 is 100, plus 15 is 115. So it's like there's 115% width on this. So that's a little interesting. Now I'm not really concerned about the bin, and I'm not really too worried about the kind of pending group. What does bother me a lot is the departures. So I'm going to drop you down to 30% and you down to 30%. So that's 60, 80, 15. Man, we're close enough. So we'll see how that looks in game. I wish I could change kind of the text size, but I have a feeling that it's going to shrink with everything else being smaller now. So colors, there's really no description here. So I guess either this isn't finished or it's something that's going to be added in later in the future. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, so that's done. Let's save that. Yeah, that's fine. Now, you also would likely want to make a backup of these files. I don't really care at the moment because I can easily just copy them from one of the other airports until I've replaced everything. Before I get a look, or once I get a look that I settle on that I like to apply to everything, I will make a backup of one of the airport's files, and then I will save that out, and that will become my default and my backup. So at the moment, I'm just playing around, and it really doesn't matter, because if I screw this up, I'm just going to copy it over from another airport, so no big deal. All right, let's close out of that, and then let's go into the ADIRS. Now, this is where it's going to be really difficult to kind of figure everything out. So up front, we have our background color. Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure what that background color is. So if we grab a browser here, and I take this color code, I can paste that in. Okay, doesn't match. So that's the decimal. Wow, I can't type at all. So it doesn't tell me exactly what it is off of here. There are sites that you can use to look some of these up. And if you have a photo editing program, you can easily get into it. We know the background for the most part is kind of this bluish color, so I was just hoping to pull it up on a site and do that, but I'm not going to worry about that too much, and I'll show you why in a minute. Rotation is the rotation of the map. I don't really care about this because I can always move it to be default to the airport. Like at LAX, the airport's kind of like that, so you can do that, or you can make it flat, whatever's easiest for you. Every airport's going to be a little different, so I may kind of want to align it like that. I don't know. Then you've got the road area colors. There's really not a lot of description, so I don't know if this is describing the ground transport roads or the actual roads that come in and out of the airport for traffic, because there are some airports that go over highways, or highways come into the airport and then loop around, like at LAX around the terminal, so I don't know if that's what that's covering. Thickness is 0, so I'm assuming that there are roads are invisible. Road outline, road thickness, blah, blah, blah. Taxiways. Okay, so we know there's taxiways. We'll have to look at what those colors are. Taxiway thickness. Okay, I don't know if that's a percentage out of 100. I'm going to assume so. Runway thickness, runway color, terminal color. I don't see that much need to differentiate too much. You can see the runway color is different from the taxiway color. You've got terminal thickness, terminal color, blah, 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 blah. Road text background color. Okay, but are these taxiway labels or runway labels? That's where it gets a little confusing, because here these are taxiway color and thickness, but there's no text label for them. So is this road text or is this taxiway text? It doesn't say. The route or road selected, I guess if I click on a road, I'm not sure. Road selected, route color, route thickness. I might like to bump you up to say 5. That'd be good. Eye color. I have no idea what this is. Airplane size, that I think is fine. Airplane text size, again, I can modify these things in game. Since I can't write to the config, I'm gonna have to kind of play with this and see kind of where they are. I know 35 is going to be a little on the large side because I don't like it. So let's drop the airplane text size down to 25 and the airplane down to 30, just to get an idea of what it looks like. Airplane color on arrival, departure, call sign, none of this is going to be very easy. And area, I'm assuming this is the zoom, but again, it doesn't specifically say what that is. So with that said, let's pull up Photoshop and see if we can take a look at the color wheel. So I looked it up. It's not RGB. I had that wrong. It's RGBA, which is slightly different, which is why I couldn't find it in Photoshop or easily online. There's plenty of RGB converters, but I did find this website finally that gives you the RGBA values. So if I take this sheet here, move that over a little bit. I'm looking for 255, 155, 155, 55, 255. And it gives you kind of that ooky yellow color supposedly. So this was what? I don't even know what color that was anymore. So give me a second. Okay, that was the color for arrivals, kind of that funky orange. So if I wanted to make kind of a grayish background, 0, 0, 0. I could have this as my nice little background, make it a little darker. And that's kind of where it would be. 1 is the value, and then I could do decimals out to the point to get it there. So I could set my background to be 0.8 on the background. 0, 0, 0, 0.8. That could be my background color. And then so on and so forth, and you can pick through it. Now this will take a little bit of time, but you do get a chance to really kind of customize and see what you've got. The main one that I really want to get is kind of for selected airplanes that I have. I don't want it to be kind of a urine color. That's not exactly what I want. Put a little better flare on it, but I want it to stand out as a selected airplane. So if I have selected color arrival and selected color departure. So here's where I'm going to need to kind of play with the two colors. But for me, at the moment, I don't think there needs to really be that much of a difference. If I've clicked on the plane, likely I know it's a departure or an arrival and I need to do something with it. And depending on where they are, I'm also likely going to know what they're doing. I should. Knowing me, I probably won't, but likely I'm going to click it, I'm going to give it its call sign. So I think that as far as differentiating the colors here, I don't need to go that nuts with it. But if we look at the arrival color here, which is 255, 155, 155, 255, let's punch that in and see what we get. 255, oops. So that's the selected arrival color, which you really can't see any difference of. And this one is just 155, 155, 255. So they're supposed to be quite different, but in the game, they don't actually show up that different when I've selected them. I don't know if that's something different. And I don't know why I would want the call sign name and everything else to be different. That's weird. So for the moment, let's take my little orangish color here that's a little on the brighter side of things. I don't know if I want 1. I want it to be a little brighter than 1. So let's take this. This is going to be my code up here. Selected for arrivals. And then I'm just going to copy that down in for my selected there. Take both of those, paste those in. Let's save it. Yes. Okay, now I'm going to load the game. I'm just going to fire up a quick LAX. Once the thing actually loads, because it takes 5 minutes, I'll kick off the recording again, and we'll take a look at what some of these changes actually did, if anything, to the game, and then we'll look at some other alternatives. So we'll see you in game. So after a long turn of waiting for the load, which is still very annoying feel there. Whoa, I don't know why that's doing that. It finally loaded in, but it did call out. I didn't close the ADIRS, which is kind of odd that it would lock it, but it is a CSV file, so maybe it's just not that odd. So I don't actually have any ADIRS. So I get to reload and try again. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay, so we finally got loaded in. I wish I could screw with the default zoom, but hey. So you can see that based on the colors that are selected by default, and I knew this would happen, the gray background really doesn't work that well because the taxiways and everything are already kind of gray. But what I was planning to go towards is more of something like this, because these taxiways are very pop out, the runways very pop out, it's easy to see. Now, golly, that is so loud. Oh, I can't stand their voices. Anyway. So that worked pretty well as far as changing the background, but you can see the issues. We've got dark black runways, gray taxiways, and it's all kind of a little muddled in there. Orientation, all that stuff, I can't really see exactly what it means. I can look that 353 is almost 360, which would be perfectly north. So the way I like it is to be slightly off a bit, so maybe if I set it to 360, then that will be the orientation of the airport that it'll be in, which is more natural to where it's actually set up. The icons are they're okay. I think the font is still a bit big. I don't mind the icons, they're not bad. I don't know where my airplane just went. Did my airplane get deleted? Interesting. Nope, strips. No, they're still there. Interesting, but they're gone from my screen now. That's a nice bug. Alright, so I didn't do anything to this screen, and you can see they select just fine. Ah, there he is. I don't know where he went. Ah, it's because when I click on him, for some reason, it didn't quite set the color correctly. I don't know why, but let me come over. Nope, I need to clear you. So that's going to make it very difficult to play. So for some reason the default unselected color is still visible, but when I select it, it's like it just vanishes because the color code's probably off because it can't take decimals. But I thought in that sheet that there were decimals. So runway tag size is fine. I think the taxiway routes are fine, all that stuff. So very annoying, but again, you can see the process. You have to load in and out, and it takes so long to load. So if you're going to play with this, I recommend doing it with kind of the default airplanes in the game because they load in like a minute versus the 5 minutes for the proper design ones. So that's kind of what I'm going to mess with in the future. With that said, let's go look at some other options here. Okay, so now we're back looking at my Excel file. The background color probably went straight black because I had it set to 0.8. It doesn't look like anything else is really using decimals other than the area. So there's a few things I'm going to do. I'm going to set the rotation to 360 to get that done. And I want to play with the background color a little bit here. So if I'm trying to find a gray and I can't use decimals, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to really do this very easily. So if I come here and set U, then I can slowly bring these other colors down, and I can set something like this. That doesn't look too bad, but it is going to screw with my taxiways for now. They currently have it set to kind of this bluish hue, which may work again. I'm not going to mess with it this second, but you can kind of do something like that. And that way you can still get a gray, but you don't have to mess with decimals or anything like that. So you can't really use opacity level settings. You've got to leave it in full view and then just RGB. So I don't know why they didn't just do regular RGB. Whatever. Now, the alternative I was talking about was using our good friend Eli Grimm's tools. So this is his main site. You got Tower 3D Pro, and now you've got Tower Simulator 3, and you can see he's added a color changer option in here, which lets you come in here and do some mixing for things. So you can do some picking here, which removes a lot of the work from our side of it, but you have to know what these things are going to mean, which is, again, my complaint with the game. Now, he's listing exactly what's basically in the game, but I still wish there was more descriptions of what the hell these things actually do. So the first one is your background color, and you see you can play with the settings to make it work across anything. Get your full decimals, and you can set your colors up to whatever you want, really, which is quite nice. And then you can click the Create Palette button. It will export the file, which we'll do in just a second. So that is very handy, and it lets you kind of get customized with things. So if you want a black background, go for a black background. If you don't, don't. But it does allow you to play with a good background option here. So let's set a nice neutralish dark background, something like that. I think the roads, which I think are the taxiways, I want to brighten it up. Let's set the roads to be something kind of, I don't remember what they were in the original game. I think they were gray, but I don't know. Let's go with kind of this vomit color here. Yeah, that's hot for the roads. Let's look at lines. I don't know what lines mean, honestly. Tag color. I think by default I'll have some light blue. That's good. Fonts. I think the fonts being white will work well with this. I want my arrivals to be this nice standout color, my departure to be that nice standout color. And then we can play with some other options to brighten it up once we get in the game and see what the palette actually does. Now, for other nice things, if you don't really want to go configure it, he's created these default options here at the bottom, and there are tons of them that you can pick and select and navigate through to figure anything out. So let's just pick this cool kind of sunset one. Boom, it runs it across the board. And then if you want to change some of these colors, you can tweak them a bit. So you can come in here, and then you could create kind of a nice grayish background if you wanted. Breaks the color scheme, but again, it's kind of nice to be able to do that. You want to go back to the color scheme, you can click off and then click back on. I picked this one. And then you're back on the color scheme. So that's kind of nice. And you can click each of these and write them down and copy them over, or again, you can click the Create Palette. So let's create the palette. I don't really want to give it much of a name, but you can pick that, and then you can flip some of these around, which is nice on this next one. This is applying this scheme to all your different options. So debright, I'm okay with debright. I don't really want the debright to change, but this is the one that I do. And this is where we can, again, come in here and play with it. Now, the downside to this is you have to have picked your color palette on the front page, and then you can use that palette to apply everything here. So if I'm honest, I want the background to be default, and that way it's a little easier to differentiate between it. The roads, I think I'd like them to be default as well. The taxiway color, let's leave them default as well. The runway color, let's leave them default. The road outline color, I'm going to leave that default as well. And then we're going to get down into some of the fun stuff. So, road text color, these are basically just telling you what the taxiways and things are. I think doing the background color for that is good. Road text, selected road. I don't know how I'm going to differentiate between that, so let's just leave it default. The route color, I like something a little poppy, but let's do that. Darker roads, I might not stand out. There's lines, that'll work. Terminal color, yeah, that'll be okay. Field of view color, Let's go back to default with that. Actually, route color, let's leave that default as well. I like the arrival color. I like the departure color. Call sign departure selected. So this is where we really get to make our selected stand out. So you can see I've got that as pop out. I'm going to switch those to fonts. Actually, no, I'm going to leave those as, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave those as background. And oops, my selected, I'm going to go with this crazy, I can't seem to select fonts color. Okay, I guess fonts is, oh, that's the one I have selected. Okay, well, I thought I had this cool green one in there, so I'm going to go with the brightest option that I have in here for these, which is the background color. Area base color, I don't know what that means. Area color, I don't know what that means, but I've got U that needs to flip over. Let's put the text, I don't want the text color to be the same. So let's put the text color as default and see what that does. All right, now the rest of everything, I don't really care about the strips, but it's interesting that in my file, if I can find it here, I didn't have any of those options, so they might be somewhere else I need to go. Let's create the theme. Wait for it. Now, to be fair, I haven't looked at this site other than just going on there and clicking on it, so this is really my first time actually creating anything. Let's download my color changer theme. It gives you the nice install files if you have Steam or whatever. Typical install files, mine is not there, so I will have to find my own, which is perfectly fine. I'm already in that folder. So basically, sets it up for me to copy it into my root folder here. Let me grab the WinRAR. Yep, and basically it's going to ask to override all the instruments, which I'm only going to do a couple of them. So let's move you up there. Bring you down here. Let's just drop you in. I didn't even look at the strip options that I changed. So we are replacing the file. And of course, once again, I have it open in Excel, so let's not save you. Try again. All right, so now that we've got that copied in, let's open it and take a look at our changes here. Spiffy. All right, so let's do some of these fixes real quick. 360 for that. Road area thickness is fine. Airplane size was a little bit big. I still don't know what these eye things are, but what are, oh, eye width. That must be the FOV. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. Let's just do 100 and get it off my screen. I don't care about the FOV. Airplane size, let's just do 20, and text size, let's also do 20. Everything else I'm gonna kind of leave the same. I don't think I changed anything else on here, so let's save you. All right, now I'm not going to mess with anything else right now. I've got the file downloaded. We'll go back to the home page. All right, let's load the game and see what it is. All right, so we are in it now. Let's take a look and see how things turned out. Not the best, but again, I did leave a lot of settings as default, so I didn't go with the full theme because I figured it would be kind of in my face. But we're on the right track. Things look a little better. I'm not sure how things all turned out purple versus the default, but hey, it's a little better. The runway color's okay, and the taxiways are dark, but the labels work, so that's not bad. The airplane labels are terrible because they just don't match with the background. And that's why I think being able to see this type of a map or just a default generic airport, hell, use TIST, just give me a picture of it in the game, let me click on each little option and see what it actually does and then say apply. Write your config file, let me go load the game and play. It'd be so much easier than us just guessing at these hex codes. And that's just kind of annoying. I'm also kind of confused why it looks like I have 2 dead pixels, but they're really just off marks in the game map because I don't have any dead pixels, and you can see as I scroll, hopefully you can see that the pixels are moving around, so it's issues in the map itself. Now if I select this guy, it does what I wanted, which is pop up into another color to tell me, hey, I've highlighted them. On this one, they kind of do the same thing, but they just go yellow. But it doesn't matter that much because I can still see the difference. Here, however, it really does matter. I keep forgetting that I be able to see very easily which ones I've selected. Now let's come down here and take a look. So the default strips, these I didn't touch. If I pull it over, you can see it's a bit smaller from my changes. It's not a bunch smaller, but it is a bit smaller. It's still blurry, which really sucks. I'm gonna have to see if I can pull it out on another window, but then that's gonna make YouTube a little more jarring because suddenly this will pop up and then the game will pop up, and I don't want to do that to people, especially if you have like seizures or something. But at least in this case, it fits a little better. So if I can make the text a little larger, that would help. But like this KCA, I could shrink that down, and I could make this a little larger because that denotes it's a heavy. But otherwise, I'll be able to see many more planes in here now than I had before, and I think that works. I don't really need to worry about the bin, and that explains why it was over, because the bin is a 15% extra that comes in. So now I get it. Bin's off to the side. So there you have it. That's kind of how you edit some of the colors and tweak some of the game files. Again, my complaint is it's going to take so long to get this thing set up to a way that you are comfortable with and the way that you like. And again, I don't think it would have been that difficult for them to code in mapping a simple airport and saying, here's the runway, what color? Pick the color scheme, give us the color wheel like Eli Grimm's website. I can just make everything that fits. Just list everything, I can click it, oh, let's make this that, and I can build the color scheme and see it as it goes, whereas this is very difficult. Eli Grimm's makes it so much easier, but it's still a little difficult because you kind of have to pick your palette, and then you have to apply that palette to everything there. So I'm going to kind of do a bit of a mix and match and take some of a palette from him and then modify some of the things that I want separately now that I know you can't use decimal places. But hopefully that was informative. We all should have learned something with doing that, and happy customizing. Good luck. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.